This video is going to be over points and lines. Well, we're going to go over some vocabulary first, and as we go over this vocabulary, we'll be giving you some examples of what points and lines are. The first word is points. A point in geometry represents an actual location, but a point is considered to have no dimension or size. That's only important in certain instances. So it is important that they have no dimension or size. However, when you think of a point, you think of drawing a point like this. So when thinking that it has no dimension or size, it's kind of confusing. However, we're just talking about a place on a line. So if you represent a point by drawing a dot on paper, then that does have size, but if you just think about a point in your head, where that's what we're talking about, a point in the air or a point in space doesn't have any has no dimension or size, but a point on a piece of paper does. A point is represented by capital letters, and so that's important. All points will be identified as a capital letter. A, B, C, P, any capital letter in the alphabet can be used to represent a point. As you saw in the previous section, a point can be represented algebraically as well by an ordered pair. And so a point can be an XY point, remember X, Y. A point could be -4, 2. So that is point. And we would say point A is -4, 2. This is what a point would look like. You would just draw a point and label it. You could draw another point over here, and we can label that point X. You can label it whatever capital letter you wish to label. Now we have lines. A line is an infinite set of points that extend in two directions with no endpoints. That's very important to know, that it is an infinite set of points. So when you have a line, what that means is when you have a line, let me draw a line here. When you have a line, it has infinite points because each one of these is a point. So we could draw dots all down this line so close together that you wouldn't even know that the point is there. So the line it extends with no endpoints. So that means that a line can go as long as it wants, okay? And that is represented by two arrows on the end. So if you see an arrow on the end of a line, that means the line keeps going, okay? If you see a line that looks like this, with a point on one end and an arrow on another end, that means it starts at this point and it will go on forever. It also has an infinite dimension of length, which means it goes on forever. And it's named by 2 points on a line or a single lowercase letter. So, let me change colors. So that means that if you have this line here, you can have these 2 points, and we can call this line XY. So that's line XY. This could also be a lowercase letter. We could call it line M. Or we could call it, this line down here, we can call it line A. So you could say line M or line XY. So that means this is line XY, and this whole line is line M. So those are two different ways you can talk about a line. A ray is an endpoint and all the points extending indefinitely in one direction from that point. It is named by the endpoint and a point on the ray. So like I showed you in the previous slide, you have this is called a ray. Okay, and on this ray it would start at A and then we would pick another point. So this is ray AC. A line segment. A line segment is a part of a line defined by two endpoints. It is named by any 2 points on the line segment. So if we have our line, this is our line A, and we have 2 points, well, we could have X, Y, we could have all these points on here. Now a line segment is named by 2 points on the line. So a line segment does not have arrows, so it just has a line, no arrows. We can say line segment XY, that's this line segment. We can say line segment YZ, and we can say line segment XZ. Those are all line segments on this line. Now it doesn't matter what order either, so you could also say YZ, you could also say ZX. All of those are line segments on this line. Is from endpoint to endpoint is a line segment. Intersecting lines. Intersecting lines are lines on the same plane that cross at one point. The symbol for an intersecting line is this symbol, a straight line down and a straight line over. Intersecting lines are lines that meet at a point when two lines intersect. They define angles at the point of intersection. So these are two intersecting lines. So we have line PQ intersects with line AB, because PQ and AB intersect, and they intersect at point C, or you can just say intersect at C. So right here is the point of intersection because that's where the two lines meet. Now it also says that they define angles. So that means here's an angle, here's an angle, here's an angle, and here's an angle. And we'll talk more about that later on in later lessons. Parallel lines are lines on the same plane that never cross. The symbol for a parallel line are two lines straight down. So parallel lines, this can be a parallel line. Well, that's not going to be a parallel line because I drew it crooked. Because if you keep extending these lines, at some point they're going to cross. You see that? So this is not parallel. Okay? To draw parallel lines, I need the help. So those would be parallel lines, because when you are if you keep extending those lines further and further and further, they will never cross. So these will never cross, and so they are parallel. So parallel lines never cross. Perpendicular lines are intersecting lines that cross to form right angles. And a right angle equals 90 degrees. So a right angle, remember, if you think of a right angle, I always think of a square, because each angle on a square is a right angle, 90 degrees. Okay? So when you're looking at two lines, those are perpendicular because it creates a 90-degree angle. These lines intersect and they are perpendicular because it creates a 90-degree angle. These lines intersect, but they don't create a 90-degree angle. So these are not perpendicular. Only lines that create a 90-degree angle are perpendicular. Now, these are always talk about a line. So if you look on this line, we have point A right here, point B, and point C, and then our lowercase m. So our lowercase m is, this would be line M. So on here, point A is on line M, because we have line M, and here is point A. So we can say point A is on line M. We can say point B is on line M. Point C is on line M. We can also say line M contains points A, B, and C. Line M passes through points A, B, and C because it passes through those points. We can also say that B is between A and C. Okay, we can say line segment AB is on line M. We can say all of those. So those are just ways to identify points in lines. So if we have these examples, 2 points D and E. So to make 2 points, if you were asked to draw 2 points D and E, you would just draw a point, label it capital D, draw another point, label it capital E. Those are 2 points D and E. A line containing D and E. Well, we would just draw a line and make sure that D and E are on our line. Line BC. That's the symbol for line, is a line with 2 arrows on the end, and then BC. Line TU and line RS intersect at line G. Oh my goodness. So we have one line. Whoops, that should be a capital. That was my fault. T, U, and then we have RS, and they intersect right here at line G, or at point G. So that's how you would draw that. Point H lying on line M. Okay, so we have a line and it's labeled M, and H is somewhere on that line. It does not matter where you put your points. It does not matter where you label them. It only matters that you label them with a capital letter and that you either put an arrow at the end for a line or a point in a line for a ray. So those are the things that really matter. Making sure you have your arrows on the end of your lines and that they're capital letters for points. It doesn't matter where on the line you put the point unless they specify that. So hopefully this video has been a little helpful in understanding how to write and what are lines and points. If you have any more questions, you can contact your teacher or look through the written lesson.